This just ended up being an emotionally disturbed person that was encountered, and obviously was trying to entice us into a situation where my officers felt that he was trying to entice them into a suicide by cop in some manner, stating he had a firearm, and then by threatening he was going to fight, and regardless that he wasn't going to go compliantly. Obviously, my sergeant, through the video, shows that he was talking to the subject, tried to offer him multiple times, hey, can we take you to the hospital? Here's what we want to do. Here's what we want to do. And after he properly charged the BolaWrap, he was able to discharge a effective deployment that took him into, or that worked properly, and we were able to take him into custody without any further incident. And actually, I mean, he became very compliant once he was wrapped and once we were able to handcuff him. So it worked out as best as we could have wanted. We're new to having the wrap this year. We got trained back in March. This is actually our third deployment. Our first one we were able to catch on our mobile video cameras, and all three have been with emotionally disturbed persons, and they've worked fantastic. Never had a failure with it. Each one's resolved a situation that could have got a lot worse. And in fact, we actually could have had a fourth deployment, but it was so new at the time, the guys didn't think about using the wrap. But now it's getting so ingrained in them that, hey, we can avoid fighting these subjects. We can stop them from hurting themselves even further, and lessen the force response, that it's being used a lot more often. And everybody's really taken to it very well. When we talk about having to carry more equipment, the first response for the officers is like, what can we get rid of? And it's like, no, you really can't get rid of anything, because everything has its place, whether it be the OC, the ASP, the TASER, or the BolaWrap. And I think this is pretty evident why we need all the different force options, especially with the climate of today's law enforcement, that we're dealing with as far as the public towards law enforcement, that the easier we can rectify situations with the most minimal force used is the best outcome we can hope and wish for. These have been three major incidents that could have really went the wrong way, that were able to be taken care of in a situation and in a manner that there was very little harm to the subject. I mean, removing a probe from a TASER or removing a probe from a BolaWrap is very minimal compared to what could happen. There's a BolaWrap deployed to every officer. They are required to carry it on their person. If I have 20 BolaWrap deployments in a year compared to everything else, I will definitely take that over a higher use of force. One just very minimally pierced the skin, and like I said, it was very minimal. And with with the way that the probes are set up, you're not going to get a very deep puncture anyway. That was very well well presented in our training, that, hey, listen, there is a chance, with shirtless subjects, short sleeve subjects, and so we know that's possibly going to happen. But at the same time, with already having a TASER, I mean, it's pretty much shown that these are not even penetrating as far or as hard as what a TASER is. I look at it this way. I know some departments are going to look at it as far as a cost benefit, and I look at it this way: 3 incidents that could went really south for us didn't. So it's those 3 deployments have already paid for it in terms of being a chief 3 times over for me. So I mean, 2 of the incidents were possible suicide, trying to entice suicide by cop. The other one was an emotionally disturbed person that was trying to be combative and trying to flee the area. So especially with the 2 that were trying to do suicide by cop, if we can stop it right there and bring it to an effective resolution that's peaceful for us, peaceful for the subject, and get them the help they need, that's more than pays for the cost of the deployment of the BolaWrap through my department. Yeah, I was ready to move forward as soon as I saw the presentation and the demonstration. That I knew this would be a tool that would be vital to helping aid us in our mission as far as keeping the public safe, and also now with doing with as minimal force as needed. It's a tool that just fills a niche that we really haven't had. Until you really see what it does and the effectiveness of it, you know, watching on the advertisement is one thing, but when you see it in person and get to check it. But the other thing that really impressed me is through the demonstrations was, you know, because obviously the question was asked, hey, what if it's a missed wrap and it wraps around the neck or anything else? And you know, you're like, no, it doesn't have enough velocity to cause any injury if it wraps around the neck. That's just a very, very reassuring thing that with this, you know, should that happen, because obviously we don't have stationary targets all the time.
No.
You know, so the minimal amount of injury that can occur from it is very, very acceptable to what its use is. In this deployment, in their debrief, they're like, okay, hey, you had your taser out. We could have actually had the other BolaWrap out, since there wasn't a weapon presented at that time. That should the first wrap have not been enough, that you could have done a double wrap and you know, hit him high in the arms and low on the arms, what we needed to do to tie him up, or if we need to wrap the legs to keep him still. So that was even discussed as far as the double deployment, and really taking that training into effect, and actually in the debrief talking about it, saying, hey, listen, this is what we were taught. You can do this. And they're like, yeah, that would have been a really good situation where I could just reholster my taser, pull my BolaWrap out, and had that in the ready. Fortunately, we haven't had to have a double wrap because, like I said, we've had 3 successful deployments on the first deployment on each incident. And I think my guys have really enjoyed that knowing that they have a tool now that is going to prevent that escalation in force, especially in this situation where somebody might be threatened, they have a firearm, you don't see it, you don't want to jump to that higher level unless you need to. And this gives us the opportunity to be able to take them under control, even without going to the taser or any other intermediate force before you have to resort to deadly force. And like I said, I mean, sometimes they see the laser and that's enough, but you know, you really feel with the BolaWrap, you're allowed to deploy it so much earlier in your use of your response resistance and your levels of force, that you don't have that hesitancy to use it as you might with other intermediate force weapons. So that's also another bonus for it. The guys aren't being as hesitant as you would with possibly even a taser, or obviously with, you know, ASP and nobody likes OC anymore. It's provided that level where, you know, they're learning, hey, I can do this, I can stop and fight, and we don't have to get hurt. He doesn't have to get hurt, she doesn't have to get hurt. It saves us time, saves us energy, and it's really catching on, and the guys are loving it. If this gets other departments to adopt the BolaWrap, to use the BolaWrap, hey, I'm all for it, because you know, that's what this is about. This is about trying to get a force option that prevents you from escalating. And it's like I said, this couldn't come at a better time for law enforcement with what we're being scrutinized about. And this is what we're about. Try to use minimal force possible to make an effective resolution for everybody involved. The other one that we're going to get will be used for one of our SROs. We got to add another SRO to the schools. And this is a tool that will be highly accepted in the schools compared to using something else. So that's another bonus for the BolaWrap, the settings that you can use it in that you can't or really don't want to use other force options.